up? Welcome into your Daily Buckeye Blitz for Friday. It's a finally freaking Friday. Last day of the week, last day of the freaking month. Yes, yes. And summer's here. Yeah. Nice and sweaty. If you hear any noise, I apologize. Apparently, the assholes that live two condos above us are getting new windows today. Of course, why would they bother to tell anybody? You just suddenly wake up one day and there's sawing and pounding and shit. So, yeah, good day to get new windows, right? Love it. Thank God. It's a quick reminder why we're moving in 2 weeks. Less than 2 weeks, about 10 days. So looking forward to that. But I have to trade water view for golf course view. So downside to everything. Anyways, we're getting into it today. We're talking Buckeye football as we do every day. I think, don't quote me on this, but I think I have Jeff and Sean ready to go this Sunday night. 7:30 p.m. Eastern. The live show is back. Me, Jeff, and Sean coming at you. We're going to talk something related to college football. I can guarantee you that. Maybe we'll talk higher or lower on the way too early college football polls, something like that. We'll talk about some of the big weeks of the schedule coming up. There's some huge weekends of college football that is just banger after banger after banger. Banger, I hardly know her. Thank you. Anyway, we are back. We will be back, at least me and Jeff. I know that. I haven't gotten confirmation from Sean yet, but it's still early. He probably won't reply till Friday or Sunday. Anyways, we're talking running backs today. We're ranking the top 5 running backs the Buckeyes are going to face this season in 2024. I just feel like I'm at the dentist's office with a drill in my head. Anyway, feels amazing. Number 1, you might be thrown off a little bit here. Maybe not. I don't know. I'm going Penn State with Katron Allen and Nick Singleton. I'm grouping them together. So 1A and 1B, the Penn State running backs. Last year was a down year in the running game for Penn State, but they still led the Big Ten in rushing. They averaged 185 yards per game. That's legit. And 4.7 yards per carry as a team. So like I mentioned, you got returning juniors. These guys are third-year guys, should be at the peak of their powers. Nicholas Singleton, Nick, whatever, he had over 1,800 yards. Katron Allen, almost 1,800 yards. They've combined for 3,500 yards rushing in their careers. So, and Drew Aller needs the help on offense. That's pretty obvious, right? When Julian Fleming is your best receiver on the roster. But Katron Allen, his freshman year, played in all 13 games, had almost 867 on the ground, averaged 5.2 yards per carry, 10 TDs, and he even chipped into the running game, the passing game, had 188 yards receiving and a touchdown. So that was his freshman year. Katron's sophomore year last year, played in all 13 games, had the same number of attempts. He went 167, then 172, and had over 900 yards, another 5.2 average. This guy just takes a handoff and falls down for 5 yards. I'll take that any day. He only had 6 touchdowns and just 14 receptions for 1 touchdown last year. Now, Singleton, he had quite a drop-off from his freshman to his sophomore year. Freshman year, had over 1,000 yards, 1,061, a 6.8 average per carry, and 12 TDs. He also had 85 yards receiving and a touchdown. Now, his sophomore year, he had actually more attempts than his freshman year. Freshman year, he was at 156. Sophomore year, 171 last year, but only 750 yards. So that's a drop off of 250 yards, a little bit more than that, and only a 4.4 average. And then he only had 8 receptions. I'm sorry, he had 8 touchdowns rushing, he had 26 receptions. So they got him involved more in the passing game, less in the running game. had 26 catches, 300 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So he kind of made up for it there in the receiving game. But still, it's kind of surprising to see him fall off in his second year on the ground. Put me in the ground. Anyway, yeah. So number one, I got the Penn State running backs. Number two, I'm going with what's this? Jordan James, Oregon. So the Ducks, they're replacing last year's top rusher, Bucky Irving. He rushed for over 2,000 yards last year. Guy was a beast. And he's, what did he see, 5'8", 5'9", something like that? Not a big guy, but he was a little bowling ball. Bowling ball of butcher knives is what they say. Anyways, so he's a junior now, third-year guy also. Had 759 yards last year, averaged 7.1 per carry, 11 TDs, and again, splitting time with Bucky Irving. Then you got Noah Whittington. He's rushed for over 1,500 yards total over his 4-year career. He is coming off a season-ending injury last year. And then you got 3 more guys to fill out the room: Jaden Lamar, Dante Dowdell, Jay Harris. He's a 3-star transfer from an FCS team. And then you got Dwan Riggs, a 3-star 2024 commit. So I don't know if those last 2 guys are really just depth or what. I can't imagine them being much of an impact. But Jordan James, his freshman year, only 46 attempts, 189 yards, a 4.1 yard average, 5 TDs, and just 1 reception for 6 yards. And then last year, I mentioned the 759. That's only on 107 attempts. So expect his workload to at least double, I would think. I would think he gets close to 200 attempts running the ball, as Dan Lanning wants to be physical on both sides of the ball, right? He had 11 TDs, though, in just 100 attempts, yeah. Then 15 catches, 132 yards, so using him out of the backfield a bit, and a touchdown there. So then Noah Whittington, we talked about last year, just 20 carries, 146, and 2 touchdowns, 10 catches out of the backfield. But his big year was 2021. He was with Western Kentucky back then, and then transferred in 22. He had 779 yards with Oregon, played in all 13 games there. Last year just played in 4 games, like I mentioned the injury. So yeah, I'm going Oregon's Jordan James, number 2. Number 3, I'm going with Donovan Edwards. You guys might have assumed that the cheaters would be higher up on this list. No, I think Penn State's group and Oregon's group are better, just because there's nobody behind Donovan Edwards. One sec. It's gasoline. So Edwards rushed for over 1,600 yards over his 3-year career so far. Last year, he was held under 4 yards per carry in 10 of their 15 games. Khalil Mullings and Benjamin Hill, they added some depth last year. We'll get into their stats, but they'll need to be a lot more productive this year. I don't think you can rely on just Deadwards, Donovan Edwards, I just smashed them together. Anyways, then you got freshman Jordan Marshall out of the Cincinnati area. He could be an option, maybe. I don't know. So yeah, Edwards in 2021, his freshman year, just had 35 carries for 174 yards, a few touchdowns. Then in 22, had 140 carries. That was his high water mark so far. Almost 1,000 yards, 991, and 18 receptions. He's much more dangerous as a receiver, in my opinion. Even his freshman year, he had 20 catches. 22, he had 18 catches, and then last year 30 catches. That's his highest reception total. No touchdowns though. But his yards per carry were his highest in 22. 7.1, fell off to 4.2 last year. Now Mullings, yeah, this guy's a converted linebacker, by the way, should be noted. He played linebacker 3 years. Yeah. Freshman, sophomore, junior year. He's a senior now. Or last year was his fourth year, so it's going into his fifth year. Played in all 13 games at running back, 36 attempts, 222 yards. So that's a 6.2 average, just one TD, a couple of catches out of the backfield. So not a huge threat here. We've seen what converted running linebacker to running back to linebacker looks like. So, yeah, usually not a recipe for success. Then you got Benjamin Hall. He was a freshman last year, played in 3 games, just 15 attempts, and just 1 reception. So, yeah, Dedwards is my running back 3 on this list. Number 4. Now, this group is led by a couple guys who have chipped in together, and they're coming into their 3rd year. If you notice this little pattern here, all these guys are in their 3rd year, all these running backs. So you got Iowa's group here coming in at number 4. LaShawn Williams, Caleb Johnson, they come back for their 3rd year. Johnson led the team in rushing in 2022. He had 779 yards. Williams finished 2nd with 413. Williams led the Hawkeyes in 2023 with 821. Johnson finished 2nd to him with 463. So they kind of flip-flopped there back-to-back years. So it's kind of a deep room, and they got a new offensive coordinator, and things should get better. Caleb Johnson in 22, his freshman year, had a 5.2 average, just 6 touchdowns, though. Probably that awesome play calling by Kirk's brother or Kirk's son, for the little Ferenc, Brian. And then his sophomore year, just a 4-yard average, 3 touchdowns, and they don't use these guys a lot out of the backfield in the pass game. Total of 7 receptions in his 2 years. Then LaShawn Williams, he's been around a little bit longer. He's got a total of over 300 rushing attempts in his career and a total of 1,300 yards in his career, but he hasn't done a lot. Again, these guys do not get in the end zone. 3 rushing touchdowns in his career over 3 years. Yikes. And then 23 receptions. So still nothing to write home about. But for our schedule, they come in at number 4 for me. And lastly, I got 2 more. Fuck. It's top 6, not a top 5. Anyway, Purdue. You got former walk-on Devin Maccabee. We remember him from last year. He's got 1,800 yards rushing in his 2 years at Purdue, 6 carries of over 20 yards. That's more than Donovan Edwards, Nicholas Singleton, and Katron Allen. They also added a running back from Illinois, Reggie Love. Show me some love, baby. He led Illinois with 567 yards last year, over 1,000 yards rushing in his career. So, Mother Love and Maccabee in his 2 years has almost 1,800 yards rushing, a 4.8 yard average, but he has 15 touchdowns in just 2 seasons. And they use him a bit out of the backfield. He's got 51 receptions in just 2 seasons. So then Reggie Love, last year was the most carries he's had, 116, but just 567 yards, a 4.9 average, and 4 TDs. Not a lot of receptions in his career, just 15 out of the backfield. So at least he brings in some experience, I guess, for Purdue. All right, so to finish up here, our 6th team is Michigan State. Now, they've got some transfers and stuff going on here, so buckle up. Is all over the place. You got Nate Carter. He's been at UConn, now Michigan State for 3 years. Rushed for nearly 1,800 yards over his career. He has 7 100-yard rushing games. And then they also added, Sparty did, the UMass transfer that we thought was coming to Ohio State. K'Ron Lynch Adams, I believe he's from Garfield Heights, something like that. Anyway, Michigan State landed the UMass transfer at running back. He had a good year last year, ran for almost 1,200 yards. Michigan State, they also signed a pair of running backs from Texas. You got Brandon Tullis. He's one of those signees. He had a strong spring after enrolling early, but focusing on Nate Carter here. Last year, he played in 12 games for Sparty. At 798 yards, a 4.3 average, just 4 rushing touchdowns. But again, it's Sparty. Tuck be tucking it. And they don't use him much out of the backfield. He did have 22 catches, but just 100 yards. So not set up for success there. Then K'Ron Lynch-Adams, like I mentioned, almost 1,200 yards rushing last year, 12 touchdowns at UMass. And before that, though, he really didn't do much at UMass. He had a total of 39 attempts in 2021, 84 attempts in 2022, but just 300 yards. I mean, that's like a 3.5 yard average. So he was at Rutgers back in 2019 and 2020. Did not do much there either. Under 50 attempts each season, and nothing to write home about. So be interesting to see if he can make the step up to big time Big Ten college football, right? So that's my top 6, not 5, 6. But let me know what you guys think. If you like the order, if you disagree with the order entirely, please comment below, and we'll talk to you later. Go Bucks.